What's up, everyone? I have a very special video for you all today. This is how I will day trade in 2025. The exact strategies I'm going to use. It's going to be packed full of value, so be sure you watch this from the beginning until the end. You don't want to miss a minute of this. And I want to start off by saying I will be doing these examples using NQ and ES futures. If you trade shares or options, you're still in the right place, so stick around. I'm going to get this out of the way. For NQ, so if we're looking at NQ, you can trade QQQ options based off these zones, okay? For trading ES, you can trade SPY or SPX options based off them zones. And yes, you can use this for everyday stocks, right? Individual tickers, but for me going forward, I will be day trading futures 99% of the time. I will still be swing trading options and shares, but for this video, this is about day trading. So let's just get right into this. I want to start off with supply and demand. There's only two strategies I'll be using in 2025, but we're going to start off with supply and demand here, okay? And my supply and demand levels are based off the hourly time frame, if any way possible, while day trading. So if I can get my zones from the hourly, I will. If I have to go up to the 4 hour, I will occasionally, but in a perfect world, I'm looking at the hourly chart, and that's where I'm charting my supply and demand. I know there's probably some people watching this who don't understand what supply and demand is, or some of these terms I'm going to be using. So, if I think that's the case, I'm going to have a little pop up here that gives you a brief definition of what that is. Hopefully give you some, better understanding, trying to simplify it, all right? Trading doesn't have to be complicated. My trading style is very simple, but I've said this before, doing something very simple consistently every single day is very difficult. People don't realize that. I just keep that in mind. You're going to have to build up a routine, some discipline with this. Just like it's anything you're trying to accomplish in your everyday life, right? It's going to take some work. But these zones you see here, supply and demand, and my indicator charts them for me. Just want to point that out. So, I'm not trying to make this too much about advertising during this video, but everything we talk about here, my indicator will chart for you, show confirmation for you. So just throwing that out there. If you're interested, after the video, there's going to be a link in the description to Grizzology, but I'm going to teach you some in-depth stuff about trading supply and demand here. So first off, let's just go ahead and get, what is supply out of the way. Okay, read this, take a second. What is demand? Read this, take a second. Try to, understand it the best you can. Some of you, you may be experienced traders. This may be a little boring for you. That's okay. You might need a little brush up as well. So we have supply and demand here, charted by my indicator, Grizzology, right? And let's talk about, you already know I'm looking for the hourly supply and demand for my day trading in 2025. So what are we looking for inside these zones to confirm, right? Let's say, for instance, let's say we're going to take a reject, right? We're trying to reject supply. We're not looking to enter anywhere inside this zone. I think we all can agree on that. There's no trade to be made until we start coming back out, right? And just because we come back out, that doesn't mean we should start our short entry immediately, or at least for me. So there's a few things I look for in these, volume being one. So here's you a short definition on volume to help you understand a little more what I'm talking about there. So take a second, read that. So I'm watching volume, watching price action, of course. Price action is pretty straightforward. I don't want to be entering a short, a possible short entry, a reject with a green candle confirming, right? This doesn't make sense. Sometimes common sense goes a long, long way. Well, not sometimes, all the time. Common sense goes a long way in the trading world, especially when you're using my indicator. A little common sense with this, and it's going to help you out quite a bit. So let's say we come up to this zone. I'm going to show you off some real examples where we had confirmation, but right now I just want you to visualize this. So let's say we're in this zone, right? We're coming back out. So we don't want it to break above this, right? So if it breaks above this, I have a setting on Grizzology where it's called wicks. So if it wicks above this zone goes away. For me, it's invalid. I'm not interested in trading it no more. Same thing down here. Wicks below it, the zone's gone. It's invalid. That's one way to simplify it, right? The zone's gone. We don't have to worry about that zone anymore. We don't have to wait on confirmation. We invalidate it. But let's say it goes our way. We come back out. And let's say this trade looks exactly right. So when we come back out, of course, the volume is going to be right. Have a nice aggressive sell candle, nice red candle, Price action looks good. Now, one thing I'm going to look for here, and this is if you don't have my indicator, you have to pay attention to this more for confirmation because, this is kind of built into Grizzology, but I'm looking for a nice sign that there's aggressive selling inside that candle coming out that confirms, right? And I'm not looking to enter off a massive red candle with I don't want to see a massive red candle to enter off of because that's going to allow for too much risk for a stop loss, right? I want to see just a nice strong red candle, nothing extreme, something unordinary, right? Huge sell off due to news or something. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a tradable candle with a nice negative delta coming out of this, showing that we have more aggressive sellers during this time frame. My go-to is the 5-minute. I don't know if I said that, but I want to point that out. Go-to is the 5-minute. Now, let's just go ahead and go here to my settings. I have some settings I usually have on Grizzology turned off because I want to show you these examples and turn on stuff as we go, kind of show you why I use this, how I use it. Anyways, go into settings. I'm going to show delta, okay? So right now, you can see delta popping up down here, right? That's the delta on this current candle. That's one of the things I really like about Grizzology. We have that delta down there. And while day trading these levels, I like to have some key levels charted, okay? And these make for good price targets. And I like to have VWAP up as well, which also makes for a good price target. And if you trade, VWAP bounces or whatever, makes for good trades, especially on NQ. I will take the occasional VWAP bounce, but that's not a strategy I'm going to be talking about here. I'm going to be talking about my higher probability ones. I want to talk about the type of trades I would call out, if I was live trading with you all. And I'm not putting down any other strategy. This is what works for me. If you trade bull flag, bear flags, it's okay. I've seen quite a few of them work out this year. I'm not downing it. This is just what worked for my personality. And it works pre-market or after market opens. So, for all my night owls out there, if you want to trade futures, you can trade it. They're open pre-market overnight. So, pointing that out as well. Before we move on, here's a brief definition of what delta is. So, read this, kind of help you understand it a little better. There's plenty of YouTube videos out there about delta, but here, read this real quick and let's move on. So, I'm going to come and turn on the key levels I like to have up. Let's go to settings. I'm going to go ahead and show trend signals as well because it does show trend confirmation. Let's go ahead and just turn these on. Let's get VWAP back up. I like to have overlapping zones on as well. Give us more trade opportunities. So you can see here it automatically plots these levels for you. Makes life a lot easier. So it's one less thing you have to worry about of the morning. Now, let's look at some real life examples of catching trades on NQ. All right, here's a couple of examples on NQ that hit back to back, right? These are demand bounces, okay? You can see we had the confirmation on this candle and this candle. Yes, this candle here is a little larger than I like to enter on. It has a little more risk because, if we're stopping out at the bottom of this zone or a close back below this, there's quite a bit of risk here, right? I think we all can agree. So when you're taking a trade like this, you can trade this candle. What I like to do, even if I do start my position at the close, once we have confirmation, I may leave room to add back down here or wait on that, nice 50% retracement of that candle before I enter. Right here, this was tradable, could have entered right at the close. Doesn't look like a big move here, but with NQ futures, that's a good payday, a good day trade. Is it a massive one? No. But when we do catch a nice reject in supply or bounce in demand, and we have continuation, it can easily turn into a massive day trade. I had a couple 100-point trades in the recent past with Team Bull, trading these levels, and trend entry, which is going to be what we talk about next. So I'm going to go into details about trend entry, so be sure you stick around for that. So let's say I know you can't see my key levels here because Grizzology only charts it on, the current day. But when I'm getting to a trade, say for right here, say we took this trade here, VWAP is going to be one of my price targets when we're taking a bounce. Ideally, we have a nice move back up the VWAP. We have the previous day pre-market low close. Tend to works out for nice price targets. And one thing I do, some people, you may like this, you may not. When I'm trading NQ, I typically trim 15 to 20 points, right? It works out well before I get stopped out. Sometimes I do get stopped out after my first trim, but in a lot of cases, I do get that second trim off nice in profits and leave runners for additional gains. So once I trim the first time, I move my stop loss at entry. That way, if it drops down, I'm not giving back any profits. Second trim, I tend to move it up into profits a little bit. That way, if it drops down, I'm even closing my runners out in profits. So yeah, you can set your stop loss here at the bottom of the zone. Can allow for a bigger loss, of course. Or you can wait on the close here, or you can set a hard stop here if it breaks below. But you will get stopped out more that way. It's just really your risk tolerance preference. Your position size, of course. Don't be going, real light one trade, super heavy another. So to elaborate on that just a little bit, and I feel like it's important. So short weeks, typically it's going to be light size for me. Weird days like FOMC minutes, some just say we have half a day, light size if I even trade. Just trying to throw some tips in here. Just going with this. This isn't rehearsed. I'm not reading a script. This is straight from my mind as I go. Trying to throw out anything I think would help you become a profitable trader. Okay. Now let's see if we can find a nice reject and supply. So here's a nice example of taking a reject and supply, right? Again, we're on the 5-minute time frame. Keep that in mind. That's my go-to. Yes, I will look at higher time frames. I rarely go lower. Not saying there's anything wrong with a 3-minute. Some of my Grizzology subscribers love using a 3-minute. I honestly need to look into it more myself. But for right now, sticking with the 5-minute. And I'll move up to see if we're confirming on higher time frames, but ideally we confirm on the 5-minute. So you can see we had supply here. This is a new zone it created off this move. So we're not going to talk about this zone. We're talking about this zone. So we came up, tested this hourly supply, come up, had nice price action. You can see a nice red candle, right? Not too aggressive. There's not much risk on this candle or this trade, right? So we wait on close for confirmation. We get in, we can set our stops close above or at the zone, top of the zone. And one thing that has helped me in the past, another tip, if we say we got down here hesitating before I got that 15, 20 point trim, we came back up, chances are I'm going to lighten my size at entry if I see us coming back up. Sometimes I may even close out my trade and re-enter with confirmation, okay? Stuff like that does help me keep my losses smaller than my winners. So we get in, as you can see, it just printed for us. Not much draw down at all from our entry here. At, 547, the low was 474. So very nice move. You got to keep in mind, 20, 30 points caught consistently can be life-changing. There's just no way around it. So, and I want to point this out. If you're not ready for trading NQ or ES, you can trade MNQ or MES, less risk. Just look into that. But if you're going to use my indicator, I do recommend watching the NQ chart and the ES chart, even if you're going to trade them. So you basically know what I'm looking for here when rejecting supply and bouncing demand, right? Really simple, pretty straightforward. What's going to be hard for you, though, is waiting on them zones to confirm. You're going to be right down here. You're going to be like, okay, I need a trade. I need a trade. But do yourself a favor and only trade zones, okay? There's only trades to be made in zones. Do not jump the gun. Do not enter early. There will always be another trade. Even if we don't confirm, maybe we reject early here. At least you're not getting caught in a losing trade. You're building good habits as you go. That is key, okay? Very important. Build good habits with trading. Just like anything else, you have to force yourself to do it each day, right? Force yourself. Finding love for it helps, makes it easier to build good habits from my experience. But, just force yourself each day to follow your plan. Before you know it, it will be a good habit, okay? So that's all I'm going to talk about with supply and demand trend. So this is next, trend entry, okay? Very important you stick around for this. Very, very important. Going to give you all some tips. But before we go, I have one more thing to say about supply and demand. Not every supply and demand will work out. Even if it does confirm, it can still turn into a losing trade. Some things to help with that: stay away from 8:30 a.m. data, when it drops, like jobless claims or something like that. Probably wouldn't be in a trade then. It can make an A+ setup invalidate quickly. Another thing that helped me, so If we're going to supply and looking for a reject and I notice a bull flag forming, I'm not going to take it. Same thing for bouncing demand. If I see a massive bear flag forming, I'm not going to take it. Even if it does confirm, even if it so happens to have the right amount of volume and delta on the candle, I'm still not going to take it because I noticed the patterns. That's where common sense comes into this. I can't stress that enough. And this is a true story. One of my close friends, he's trying out Grizzology, right? He opened an account for, I think it was 2025. He opened a $5,000 account to test it. When I talked to him last, I think it was yesterday, he was up to 9,000 on the account. And he told me what he takes. He says, I trade Grizzology, the futures in QES. He said, but I use common sense with it. That's all I do, testing, your indicator, which I thought was pretty cool. Got me pumped. Anyways, I want to share that story with you all. And if you don't want to trade your own capital, you can trade funded accounts, prop firms, specifically FFF. It's Jay Dunn's new thing he started. I like it because I can have a say-so, right? I can be on your side. So you can use code Grizzly if you want to get funded through them for a discount. I'll help you out as much as possible. Join my YouTube live trading. Let's see if we can't pass some there. And if you get Grizzology Indicator, be sure you join the community chat for it. You have to get the whop app, whop.com app, and you can talk to everyone if you're having any issues with it, help understand it better. Anyways, let's move on to the important stuff. So let's talk about trend entry. I'm not talking about hourly trend, daily trend. This isn't for swing trading. This is for day trading. So I'm trying to identify the daily trend. If we have one, we don't have trend every day, but if we do, how can I capitalize on that? How can I put that to my advantage? How can I use that, right? Because trend happens, on strong trend days, there's not much else that works. You all have been there. You've probably blown accounts, right? I think we've all taken unnecessary losses trying to fight trend. So let's talk about how to use it. Ideally, you can't see the levels here because my indicator charts them out. Like I said, previous day close, pre-market high lows, it only shows it on the current day. But for me to enter trend, it needs to be below pre-market low or above pre-market high for this to confirm. With Grizzology, the same thing. If you're not using Grizzology, this is what I look for. Looking at this candle here, we broke through pre-market low on this move down here once the market opened. You're probably thinking, we have weakness. I need to get into this trade. Not at all. So you can enter, with the close, but it's going to allow for more risk, right? You could have a nice pullback and stop you out before you even catch the move. So what we want to wait on is a lower high. So we push back up, retested pre-market low. We had a nice sell-off here. Finally, we broke back below pre-market low here, confirmed with some aggressive selling on this candle. Entry could have been right here. You could set your stop at pre-market low or back above, this lower high, okay? Two ways to handle this. Typically, if it does break above this, in a lot of cases, it's going to reverse. Just throwing that out there. It's not every case. I'm not trying to tell you what to do here. I'm telling you how I do it, okay? So if you want to add some of this to your arsenal, great. If you don't like it at all, that's fine as well. So we enter here. First price target is going to be low a day, or if I'm trading ES, I typically trim around that 5-point area. Works out well. Increments of 5 do well. Some people like increments of 3, but 5 is usually where I start. But ideally on a setup like this, low a day can be a price target. And then, of course, we're going to use our key levels, zones below, just them whole psych numbers for possible price targets once we catch that trend down. And I still manage my trades the same way. Once I trim, my stop loss is at entry, second trim is in profits, right? But I will say this, I prefer trading NQ. It's just my go-to. It's just hard to go back once I started trading it. We get nice movement quick. A lot of times you're not stuck in a trade all day waiting on it to move in your favor. You get that 15 to 20 point trim pretty quickly. And that can go the other way. It can get to the stop loss pretty quickly as well. So just be prepared. Wait on confirmation. Another way you can use delta is once you get into the trade, right? So if you're looking, you're like, wow, I wonder if this is going to keep going down. What's these candles? I don't understand. You can look at delta. Say we're looking for the downtrend entry. We get in the trade, and let's say we didn't trim for some reason. We come back up, right? Like, oh, it didn't hit our stop loss quite. It didn't hit our stop loss yet for some reason. Say we haven't trimmed. Just for the sake of this example, we can kind of be watching, kind of guiding, like, okay, we've got some massive positive delta, right? And volume, it looks like we're going to push up. But, looking at this, we're still below VWAP, right? We still have weakness. So I'm using VWAP, I'm using delta to help me stay in this trade, not just holding for hope, but I'm actually trying to identify if there's more aggressive buying or selling here, and we're below that VWAP, which is another thing working in our favor. As you can see here, it would end up paying us more if we held. Just some simple tips there. And honestly, I think we've covered basically everything we need to here. I want to make this video for people that's been trading for 4 years, still aren't profitable. I'm hoping this is going to help, kind of give you something to focus on, help you manage your trades, know when to enter, know when the trade's invalid. That's my goal here. And even if you are profitable, I think this is still something that could help you. And if you're a beginner, this video is going to help you know what you should be focusing on. Not that other things don't work, but it's going to kind of narrow your focus. That way you're not trying to guess what's real, what's fake. Supply and demand and trend is real. So if you have any questions, any feedback, anything, drop them in the comments. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you want Grizzology, I'll leave a link in the description. And be sure to join the community chat. You need the app for that. And if you want to get funded with FFF, Funded Futures Family, use code Grizzly, get you a nice discount. And let's see this coming week if we can't get you passing some evals. That's it. Appreciate you all for watching, and I will see you next time.